Heavenly Gifts. Jesus explains the redemption from matter of the life of a tree. August 6th, 1840. Jesus reveals through Jakob Lorber in Volume 1, Chapter 30. In the Freiberg Forest near St. Leonhard, Graz. The forest houses pines, spruces, and firs. JL speaks, though really the Lord through him. KGL, Andr H, and Ans H write. Here, in this forest wherein you find yourselves, and into whose primeval depths you intend to advance. This is already the 10th forest to stand in this place, always occupied by the same species of trees, those living in harmony with the nature of the soil present, for another type of tree could not easily make it here. For you see, every tree stands in its own spot, spreading a great number of large roots, as well as small hair roots, as they are called, into the loose soil upon which it is situated. Now, to every such tree is given a vegetative soul, or, as might be easier to understand for you, within every tree dwells a mute spirit. This spirit possesses a very simple intelligence. By means of this faculty that was given to it by me, it recognizes within the earth the nourishment it desires. According to my will, the spirit will begin to create for itself many thousands of arms at the roots, where it prefers to dwell, with which it absorbs and transports the juices beneath the loose earth, leading them through the many tubes and channels it has fashioned up to the highest point and into all the little branches of the tree. However, the juices, as the spirit finds them to be suitable for its nature beneath the surface, are only separated into their various constituent parts within the branches. The coarser elements are deposited in the trunk, and even the impure bits are driven beyond the sphere of the trunk, forming the bark, or as it were, the skin or clothing of the tree. The finer juices are used to form the branches. For behold, wherever a branch has grown out of the trunk of a tree, in that very spot you will see this branch penetrating nearly to the center of the trunk, in a much finer and more compact mass. This happens because the simple intelligence of the spirit of the tree makes the fibers and tubes of the branch 10 times finer than those of the main trunk. Accordingly, only the finer juices may pass through these finer organs, which are nonetheless just as much, if not more, substantial. If you take a look at the branches, you will see an even greater number of twigs protruding from the branches themselves. The same thing happens from the branches to the twigs as does from the trunk to the branches. And so, the juices within the twigs are, once again, more than 10 times finer and substantial, and as such more powerful, as well than those of the trunk transferred into the branches. From the twigs, in thousands of different spots, a multitude of tiny tubes are left open. Through these, once again, in tenfold delicacy, or as you would understand it more easily, in tenfold chemical refinement, as sap is excreted. From this sap, the spirit, according to its simple intelligence, forms the leaves or needles befitting the nature of the tree, according to my order. Once such a leaf or needle has attained its proper perfection, the channels and organs of the twigs leading thereto are gradually blocked off or closed, so that out of 1,000 tubes, merely one, the center one, is left open, through which the leaf receives its nourishment. In the end, however, even this final tube is closed, and now that the leaf no longer receives any nourishment, it falls from the tree, withered and dead. In the diameter of a sewing needle, on the outermost offshoots of the twigs, there are millions of the most delicate organs, which are endowed with an animalistic life force. When the sap arrives there, a veritable struggle or war breaks out, for the spirit, in its impurity, wishes to seize freedom from its imprisonment, seeking to leave behind the material constraints of the tree. But as the spirit attempts to do so, these organs then constrict themselves in such a way that they block its passage to the outside. Thus, the spirit becomes aware of his imprisonment within his own simple intelligence, and gradually abandons his fruitless attempts, instead taking refuge in modest humility, whereby his entire being begins to transform into love. As this happens, the constricted organs are softened and expanded by the warmth of his love, and thus he grows ethereal and truly alive through his love. Once this has happened, in his elevated intelligence, he recalls the goodness of love and affectionately attaches himself to the outermost offshoots of these organs, as the fruit of the tree. Thereafter, having attached himself thus, in a size hardly even noticeable to your eyes, into his being I breathe an extraordinarily small spark, emerging from my merciful love, through the warmth of grace and the light of the sun. Eagerly he seizes this little spark from the many hundreds of offshoots, carefully enclosing it within a tiny shell. Once this marriage of nature and spirit has occurred, both the blossom as the organ of procreation, as well as the fruit corresponding to the tree, are created and brought to maturity by the ever-increasing warmth of the spark. Every so often it happens that, by careless indolence of the spirit, some offshoots of such trees are overlooked, and then, after a short time, this little spark once again returns to whence it came. The vessels of the twig immediately constrict themselves, and no longer provide the fruit with nourishment. Soon it falls from the tree, withered and dead. In the fruit that was completed and perfected, however, this little spark of life is carefully kept within a fine shell at the center of the seed. This tiny spark of life, having emerged from my merciful love, contains an infinite number of its own kind, similar to its origin, which am I myself. From but a single seed such as this, in 1,000 years' time, many millions, if not more, of the same tree may arise, and so on and so forth, forever. For I am eternal, in the smallest as in the greatest, even unto infinity. Now, behold, there you have a tree, as many as you like even, in all that they are. Now I must show you both the beginning and the end of it. The formation of such a tree is quite simple in and of itself. The seed falls to the earth, or is placed therein purposefully. Now nestled within the earth, it calls for a spirit banished into matter, so he may enter in. This way, such a spirit receives the first vital impulse and the most simple intelligence of his being. Because the spirit is fundamentally evil, at once he will seek to seize that little spark of life breathed into the seed by the merciful love of God. Yet this little spark continually escapes its pursuer, and so the spirit in the seed seeks out both spirits and other things that resemble himself, searching within the earth, growing and visibly increasing the more he absorbs. as you can see for yourselves in any tree that has grown and matured. This growth of the tree is brought about by the murderous striving of this released spirit, or even of an entire legion of such spirits, if you were so inclined. The spark of life, however, flees ever higher from the influence of such malignant striving. In their fury, the many millions upon millions of these spirits, attracted by the spark of life, once again harden into deaf and dead matter, which you may well recognize as the wood and bark of the tree. Such striving, often continuing unabated for many years, will humble these spirits in the end, and thereby they attain the appropriately beneficial freedom, finally becoming one with the spark of life. A spirit such as this, having affectionately united with the little spark of life at the offshoots, will, after the fruit has fully ripened, become free ethereally, guided into a more elevated and intelligent existence, in accordance with my eternal order, continuing along this ladder until he finally reaches the state of you, humanity. If a sufficient quantity of nature spirits has been redeemed by such a tree, as a material institution for redemption, and if these redeemed spirits, in their ethereal freedom, have come together in love from among the most diverse trees and growths, so that they represent a spirit of higher intelligence, then they are transferred to the animal kingdom, having been elevated to the second stage. If all spirits of the animal kingdom unite in love to form one single spirit, then such a spirit will be able to ascend to an even higher level, a modest spirit placed within a human being, whence, once he has matured, he will step out, independent and free, to behold his eternally loving origin. A spirit such as that will never again have anything to do with matter. Yet spirits that have returned to evil within a human being, where no means of love will bear fruit, those will have to take a similarly tedious and long-winded path once again. A worn-out tree trunk such as this becomes dead once more, withering and rotting, though it would be better for it if it were cut down or burnt instead. Now, behold, this is the secret of plants, shrubs, and trees, from their formation to their expiration. However, you might recall I noted at the outset that this is already the 10th forest to stand here, and so I will briefly inform you of something else as well. Look, just as often has this very soil, dampening the hellfire of satanic malice, persevered beneath the floods for over 100 years. So, if you were to dig but a few fathoms deep in some places, you would happen upon individual charred trees from prehistoric times, and in other places you would even find insects from that time, perfectly preserved in resin. You would discover these things in layers, 10, 20, 50, 100, 500, 1,000, and even more fathoms deep. Behold what I do for the sake of but a single arrogant angel. I tell you, never would there have been an earth, a sun, or anything else material, had that one angel remained humble. For the sake of love alone, I, the eternal love itself, filled infinity with suns and worlds, all in an effort to save even the smallest fraction of the one who has fallen. Therefore, may you too consider all that I have done, what I am doing, and what I will do, eternally, for your sake. Amen. I, the eternal love. Amen.